Okay, I just started recording.
It's done?
Yes, it's recording.
Okay, hello guys. How are you? I will be. I mean, I will not to speak too much today as I'm in with the flu. Uh, but I didn't want to have to lose the opportunity to see you. But we have something even better. We have today JB who is going to speak a bit of progress being done in VEA, which is the most of the work was focusing on the last few weeks, mostly on VEA and the launch that we are already preparing. So I will just let him tell you a bit where we are with that.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I know we maybe we haven't communicated too much about V2 or VIA, but we've all been really busy working on it and yeah, trying really to ship V2. And to ship V2, we want to ship VIA first. So again, so VIA is our bridging solution that will allow the court to connect to the arbitrable, the integrations on various different chains. So what we've been doing in the past couple of weeks, okay, in random order, for example, we started recently working on adding support for the staking rewards in V2, which is very important. So yeah, that's so yeah, anyone staking in V2 could be eligible depending on the reward, depending on how we allocate the rewards. At least the V2 contracts could be compatible with the staking rewards that we've been running in V1. Some other small things, for example, in V2, something that is new is some elements of gamification. So we've been running some statistics on what the coherence of the jurors looks like in V1. And we try to find a good formula to give a score, let's say, out of 100. How would you score a particular juror's performance? And so we need to find a way to get a number that is balanced between the way that the juror's performance is distributed, so that we don't have everyone like too much on one side or the other. And initially that will allow the jurors to level up to like a few different levels, but then ultimately it's a new design space, and I guess we'll find out how we leverage this to incentivize the jurors in different way or reward them. But initially, at least, it should be quite fun.
Sorry, JB, to interrupt. Maybe William can comment a bit on the findings of analyzing the juror reward statistics we did until now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that much to comment. I mean, we always like have, use the sort of rates of coherence and things, and like in updating parameters as like new tools have become available, with like Dune analytics and things. It's gotten easier to like get good statistics that have, on the rates of coherence. And the sort of statistics that you shared, JV, were also interesting. The sort of question for the gamification, like how high levels should be, someone should be, is sort of a trade-off between like giving someone a lot of like putting them at like a really high level if they've only answered a few questions but they're like perfectly coherent, versus having like lots of questions and having lower rates of coherence. And I think like an interesting finding in your statistics was on sort of like the distribution of the rates of coherence. And there were like clusters where predictably people had only answered a few questions, and like so there were clusters around like 100%, 50%, like 0 and 33. So like this is useful both for parameter updates and also for these sort of like determining gaming levels.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's really something new that we are trying, and we could imagine all sorts of yeah, different sort of rewards, or yeah, I don't know, maybe it could even encourage the jurors to really perform even better. I don't know. So we'll see. So on a different topic, also something that is new in V2 is that we will support the payment of dispute fees in ERC20 tokens, not just any ERC20 token, but a few of them. And initially, some disputes could be paid in DAI or even Matic. And there's actually a technical reason for it. It's because we will support receiving disputes created from Gnosis chain, where the native currency is DAI, and on Polygon it's Matic, and yeah, so there will be the jurors will probably need to feel comfortable getting paid in those tokens, which is probably okay, and that yeah, also gives more flexibility, I guess, for the partners who create disputes to pay pay those tokens. We did on a different topic. We also migrated to a different storage solution. In V1, we used pure IPFS to store all the evidence in a dispute, to store some other metadata, and we used to run our own infrastructure on IPFS to do this, and yeah, we realized that it was not the most efficient. We tried using another service provider to do that. To the solution based on Filecoin, didn't perform very well, and we've migrated to another one called Filebase, which is also ultimately storing all the dispute-related data on IPFS. But it uses Amazon S3 as an intermediate caching layer, which gives us the kind of performance that most people would expect from a front end. So that means when you press the button to upload, you don't want to wait for like tens of seconds until you get a confirmation that, for example, a piece of evidence has been received. So yeah, we trying to find the best solution. IPFS is very resilient, but sometimes the retrieval times are not that good. So we are trying to find the best trade-offs there. Also under the hood, on the front end side of the Core V2, we migrated to a different framework called WAGMI. For maybe some of you might know it, but it gives us a much better user experience. It runs some optimizations in the background to prepare the transactions before they are sent by the user, and it's actually a very modern framework. It makes it easy to support all sorts of wallet connections like Wallet Connect. Actually, I would say Wallet Connect is quite opinionated now increasingly, and really encourages developers to use WAGMI. So we've done that migration. We've created some dev tooling for V2 that makes it easier for the developers to iterate, to be more productive. So we made a bunch of scripts that simulate some juror activity, some artificial activity, so that when we deploy new contracts, we create new subgraphs, we actually have some data to look at. We made some scripts that allows the developer to run the entire stack of V2 in a local environment without having to rely on an external subgraph, on on a public testnet. Actually, you could even have no connection to internet. You could be on an airplane, and you could be coding on. You would have no excuse to not keep coding, because you could have your smart contracts, your subgraph, your front end, all running locally on your computer. So as a dev, it's some quality of life, I guess. That means also you can, as a developer, you are also the governor of your own contracts deployed locally. So I know, for example, that when Aleš was working on the appeal features of the court frontend, he needed to tweak the duration of the appeal period. And if you're relying on the contracts deployed on a testnet, you don't know who else in the team or even in the community is relying on these testnet contracts to do their own tests. So you cannot really, for development purposes, you cannot really change the parameters the way you need. So if you have the entire stack of V2 running locally, you can just change the parameters at will. Other things we've been doing, we've been working on the notification system, creating some new templates, design some new templates to notify the jurors, when you've been drawn, when you've won or lost a case, etc. And also the entire backend connected to it. And what we are trying to do in V2 and in future Kleros products is to have a notification feed that is cross Kleros products. So you could, as a user, you could have a single feed of notifications for all the Kleros products that you're using. If you've been submitting items to curate, if you've been a juror on the court, you would get all those notifications in one place, whether you're looking at one front end or the other. Yeah, on the smart contract side, we rewrote some of the staking logic to make it more modular. We call it internally, we call it a sortition modularity. And that actually ended up simplifying a big chunk of the code. And that gives us some ways to, it future-proofs the implementation of the drawing logic. So it actually even allows us in the future potentially to do some of the drawing logic off chain and to just verify it. It could be quite complex, but it should be forward compatible with this kind of things. So yes, one thing, we've been doing a bunch of code quality improvements, like with the way we manage the dependencies in the whole project. And then, well, we're mostly focusing on VIA actually, because it's very much on the requirement to launch V2. So Shotao has been presenting actually VIA at East Taipei a few weeks ago, and right now we are maybe actually just about to announce the availability of a DevNet for VIA, for developers who might be interested in writing smart contracts that want to bridge messages through VIA. So we've built an explorer, which we call VIAScan, that lets you visualize the messages that you sent from Arbitrum to Ethereum or Gnosis chain.
I wonder, JB, if we could show via scanner, or we should not show it yet. What do you think?
I think it's probably okay. Okay, I anticipated it a little bit actually. Okay.
Because yeah.
I'm sharing my screen now. So okay, so actually, if you go to vscan.io right now, you will see this. And so these are snapshots of they're like a batch of messages that have gone through the bridge at regular intervals. And inside each snapshot, there could be a very high number of messages actually. And you can see the corresponding transaction on chain. You can see in this case that it's going from Arbitrum Goerli to Goerli. You can see who has been involved in relaying, in verifying the message. And for the purpose of this DevNet, we are running a validator, which is completely open source, by the way. But just for the developer experience, we don't want anyone, let's say, to grief it, because it's not a good developer experience. Yeah, that should be a very reliable environment for developers to build applications that need to send messages out of Arbitrum to either Goerli or Shiado or Gnosis chain. Yeah, we've been also writing some documentation for this. We built a very simple test application. We still need to make it look a little bit better, but let's see if I have it, if I can pull it. Yeah, okay. So we'll try to make it look a bit more self-explanatory, but you can imagine that there is a switch here, which is living on the Arbitrum side, and the light bulb that is living on the Goerli side. And when you hit that switch, it's asking me to connect to the wallet. It's going to start a countdown, and the message will go through the bridge. It's got a period of, I forgot exactly how many minutes, and then you will see that the light bulb will switch on, and that means later you can see the message, the corresponding message going through this, and it would probably be a transaction that says that the light bulb has been turned on, something like that. Okay, so yeah, I guess we will have separate.
That's because of the bridge, you know. Okay, let's wait a bit. Maybe William, you want to do your update while JB comes back?
Yeah, you know, sort of. I don't have like that much to update, but like I've written a blog article on sort of how Kleros can be used to handle numeric choices. So if you have, for example, like a freelancer services dispute where like instead of like either the freelancer being totally paid or not being paid at all, like maybe they deserve like a partial payment, you know, 50%, 70%, but like what exactly percentage do they deserve? You know, maybe you have like an insurance case where, you know, like part of the role of the Kleros jury should be not to only determine whether like someone deserves a payout under a policy, but also like how much damages or, you know, compensation do they deserve. So I have a long article that sort of looks at 3 different approaches that we've considered over the years, and sort of like talks about the trade-offs. And when you get to the sort of the last one, you know, it's very sort of geared towards being implemented in V2. About how we can handle this. It should be out soon. Who's waiting on images? Something maybe a little more current and urgent is there's a discussion around parameter updates on the forum, KIP 63, I think, where Green proposed some parameters, and we're sort of discussing like what the appropriate estimates for gas should be in this sort of environment we've been in, where gas has been fluctuating a lot. So if anybody has comments on that, and you know, whether they think those parameters are reasonable, or whether they, you know, what they think, you know, what kind of gas estimates they feel comfortable with, you know, I invite you all to comment on the forum.
Thank you, William. Yeah, JB, you can continue. You were just,
Yes.
I mean, press the button
Sorry.
and you got turned off the light bulb and you got out. That's because the bridge
Okay,
works.
so it's
So
after
now you
the
can
light.
continue.
Okay, after the light bulb. Okay, I must have pressed something wrong. Yes, I was just saying that we'll probably have a dedicated session to go through more details of this, and that yeah, we've also started reviewing or running an internal audit of the VR smart contracts, and we have one developer in particular who has not been involved with VR, so it's the first time he's looking at the contracts, and so far he hasn't found any security issue. So it's a good sign.
I haven't found any either. You know, it looks good for now.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Yeah. So yeah, actually, that was just actually wrapping it up.
Well, questions, guys. I mean, here you can ask all of the questions you want about VIA, V2, whatever you want to know. What are the next steps about the VIA and the V2?
All right. So VIA, we are running launching the DevNet for between Arbitrum and Goerli, and also between Arbitrum and Gnosis Chain testnet. And the next step is to have more people auditing the contracts internally. And once we are more confident, we will push VIA to production, to the Ethereum mainnet, to Arbitrum 1 and Shadow and the Gnosis Chain mainnet. And then actually all the dev effort is after that redirected to V2 and the court. And yeah, we are so yeah, adding the last needed features, and then there will be an internal audit also for the Core V2. In the meantime, there will be probably testnet deployment that we can play with. We want to have an audit of the Core V2 internally, and then it will be deployed on Gnosis Chain.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Any questions? Feel free. Have you found any bugs in the smart contract, Jin, so far?
Oh, I need to run it through ChatGPT. I think soon there will be a plugin for investigating that.
Well, we have been playing a bit internally with ChatGPT for smart contracts, and we're like quite impressed, you know, by how good it is. Of course, it's very far from, I mean, something that could work in production, but you know, give it a year, you know. Okay, so maybe Jin, you want to give some update about a bunch of stuff going on in communications and community?
Yes, we had, well, you had last week the workshop at us with lots of different, with the lawyers, right? And they created some themes, and that's one thing that I would like to hear from you, actually.
Okay, I can explain this. So every year I go and I teach at the legal tech program. It's at SAS, which is the most important, I guess, law school in France. There is a program in legal technology, and it's for lawyers who want to learn how to build software. And then I go. I mean, we don't build software, but we do all of the work that we do for the incubator, for like you know, design thinking exercises. You know, we do some prototyping. We do some customer interviews. All of the process that goes through from just ideation of something to basically the moment where you can just go out to pitch investors and get funding for the project. So we had two teams, and so this is people who start by nothing. I mean, they are lawyers who work at law firms, or you know, some of them they work at banks, insurance companies, and they have no idea of building products, and we go through, and then at the end they pitch the product. If you want to see one of the pitches that we got from one of the teams of this program, you can see the event we did at the Sorbonne in 2020, just I think before COVID was. There was two teams from that program that went to pitch at the project at the event. So that was super cool, and you can see the type of work they do. And of course, the things that they build are built on top of Kleros. So this time we had two teams. One of them built super cool, super creative solution for resolving disputes in League of Legends. Well, because there are disputes, one of the members of the team was a player of League of Legends. I don't play that, so I don't know that much. But they told me there is a type of dispute that is quite common, and this I had no idea. I learned this because they explained it to me. So apparently there is players from the LGBT community that want to play League of Legends, and they play like in a women's league. Well, it turns that LGBT, it's not allowed because people who are born, men, have different reactions and different speed of reaction to different situations. So there is apparently big source of conflicts about accusations of some player not being actually female in the women's league. So one of the teams was doing that type of dispute resolution, and the other one was doing another more conventional dispute resolution for situations like there's a startup and founders have a kind of a disagreement, and there needs to be a dispute resolution between founders, basically. So super fun. I share some pictures. I have the videos of the pitches, but I cannot share that because that's not public, and they haven't allowed me. So they are all lawyers, so they would probably sue me if I share this with you, but the photos are okay. So that's the story. And then on Friday, we did a different thing with our partner from Fever Tokens, which is a project that is building infrastructure for copyright and IP and royalties payment on different music, football marketplaces and others. So there is lots of dispute between parties because of some royalty that was not paid and some situations like that. So we presented this partnership in a very beautiful building in Paris, in the rooftop. So very nice session there. So yeah, with lots of people from the industry, basically. Like one of the guys who was there who is a big music producer, for example, but from the pre-Web3 era, and so he's now building a platform for music and Web3 music, that sends royalties to people, to the musicians and to producers, publishers, and lots of different things through smart contracts. So that was a super cool event, and potentially integrations coming from that side as well. So that's the thing, Jean. You can continue now.
Thanks. Yeah, I was looking forward to hear more about the event in Paris. And well, there was another paper that mentions Kleros. I'm just sending the link here. And I found one yesterday by testing ChatGPT with Scholar AI, a plugin, and I'll check it. I'll post it later. So that's interesting. That we can search and basically crawl the content about dispute resolution, decentralized dispute resolution, faster now to keep up with the articles. And well, Clement was featured on a podcast talking about Kleros and proof of humanity, and also he shared some thoughts on WorldCoin. It's kind of interesting that the podcast is called Common Ground, and then there was like some a comment from Clement is kind of controversial.
And it should be called Clement Ground.
Clement Grimaldi. And well, Wamian was on the City DAO's podcast talking about Kleros and in the context of network states. As you must know, City DAO is a project that aims to sell NFTs and create kind of the initial base of a network state, and you can be a part of it by having the NFT. So that's very interesting. It got a great reception. I believe that probably because people that are interested in CityDAO, once you have some kind of jurisdiction or methods to resolve disputes in this like new world. And also there's a course that Wamian recorded. There is that was launched on Apollo Academy, and there's some interesting Twitter Spaces that the Prode team will have with Connext. I believe it is tomorrow. I don't know if there's any, or see if Rodrigo can talk about that. It's they recently launched a new feature where you can basically bet on the prediction markets on Gnosis chain with your funds being on another network, and it's like a huge improvement in user experience. So I believe it's very nice that they are getting this kind of publicity, and it's also great for Kleros, right? And yeah, I think that's it for me today.
Awesome.
Actually, we have lots of discussions going on and announcements to make, but we are kind of finalizing like lots of announcements. So probably next week or in the coming days, you will see some,
two more days. 2 more days.
Some news. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we have that. Then, Marcos, we have something going on in business development. I don't know if we can say much. One of the, I don't know, Marcos. I will let you. You know what we can say and what we can't. So yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask you what we can say and what we can't say about the integrations.
No, so let's the big one. No, for now, no, because the NDA.
Okay,
stuff, but,
so we can say there's an important wallet that it's going to use the information on curate registries, but we are not going to say the name. It's a very important wallet, and then we can too say we make an important step with an Argentinian project, Web2 project that we already mentioned in another community call, but again, we can't say the name here too.
And then they can if they want pay attention, they can see that there was a new core created a few days ago.
Oh yeah, right.
But I mean, you cannot say what is going to resolve, but people already probably figure that out.
So here is my question to you: when do you think we are going to be able to say something about the name of this project?
I'm just, for me, I would have said that this months ago, but I'm just, waiting for being, allowed to do it from this company.
Okay.
These companies have, their ways in communicating stuff, so we need to be respectful of those, ways.
Okay, and then we have some smaller updates of some Web3 projects that are interested in starting to use Kleros dispute resolution system, mostly recognition of jurisdiction integrations for some marketplaces that are trying to match freelancers with customers. But yeah, that's the most important from the side of the BD team.
Awesome. And then finally, we are trying to see what are the best way for us to do our event at ETHEC. It's not cheap, to be honest. And there are different, possibilities, hackathons, events. And there is going to be probably a football game because
Yeah, not game. It's the second edition of the Kleros Cup, actually.
A Kleros tournament, actually. So yeah. To be, as you know, Kleros is a project with the roots both in Argentina and France. So they are, well, we can say they are the most successful recent teams in football. So why not do a football tournament? Because everyone loves football. And so if you are going to ETHC and you like football, you can make your team and try to beat, basically the best team in crypto, which is Kleros. And for now, it's an unbeaten team. We played 2 tournaments. Well, one was a game, and the other one was a tournament. We won. So
right.
So try to beat us if you can. Okay, and make prediction markets as well if you want, and Prodi, of course. And that's it, guys. Thank you all for coming, and see you next week, and you can claim your pod. Bye.
See you.
Everyone, see you.
Bye.